Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. I want you to picture yourself walking into a room filled with the world's most powerful and influential people. Right in the center of it all is this mysterious, multi-million-dollar empire builder holding court flawlessly. Everyone wants to know her. Everyone implicitly trusts her, and she seems to have the absolute world at her fingertips. But then, you discover one mind-bending secret. The person everyone is fawning over doesn't actually exist. Now, this isn't some Hollywood movie script. For 4 incredible years, this was the reality of the woman the world came to know as Anna Delvey.
To really get how she pulled this off, we have to look at the illusion she projected. Back in the mid-2010s, this Soho grifter infiltrated the highest echelons of New York City's elite, simply by acting like she was already at the very top of the social ladder. And her methods? They were incredibly calculated. She stayed in luxury hotels, dripped in designer clothes, and made a huge point of tipping concierges and staff with crisp $100 bills. I mean, that instantly creates a rock-solid reputation, right? She wasn't just seen as wealthy, she was seen as generous. She quickly became a trusted fixture at the trendiest galas and the most exclusive hotels, loudly discussing this multi-million-dollar empire she was supposedly building.
But here's where it gets wild. Behind those perfectly curated Instagram posts and that carefully maintained aura of old-world European wealth, there was absolutely nothing. She was essentially a ghost. Anna Delvey was a meticulously constructed fiction designed specifically to exploit the very institutions that pride themselves on exclusivity. She conned the world's most skeptical systems not by breaking in, but just by acting like she already owned the place.
That brings us to Section 1, the Manhattan Mirage. Take a look at this stark contrast between the mirage and reality. The real Anna Sorokin was born in 1991 to a working-class family near Moscow. She moved to Germany at 16, and by 2013, she was interning at Purple magazine in Paris. She absolutely wasn't an heiress. There was no massive family trust fund. But the fiction she sold to New York was Anna Delvey, a wealthy German heiress and visionary founder of a high-end arts club. She claimed Delvey was her mother's maiden name, which, spoiler alert, was just another lie. But she had a ridiculously sharp eye for social cues, a deep understanding of fashion, and cold, calculated ambition.
Moving on to Section 2. Crafting Anna Delvey. Anna figured out a very simple truth early on. People don't question you if you look like you belong. It's really that simple. She spent her initial time in New York just observing. Then, she weaponized those social cues. She learned exactly how the wealthy spoke about art, how they invested in private clubs, and what specific kinds of language organically opened doors. By mirroring this behavior during her extended luxury hotel stays, she built a reputation of wealthy generosity that was so intimidatingly perfect, literally no one dared to question it. So the whole centerpiece of her scheme was the Anna Delvey Foundation, or ADF. She pitched this multi-million-dollar private arts club as a way to frame her desire for cash as a completely legitimate business investment. And since trust is the most valuable currency in business, she manufactured it with surgical precision. She'd host these lavish dinners at expensive restaurants, surrounding herself with art dealers, lawyers, and financiers. If anyone ever actually asked her for payment, she'd just casually shrug and blame a delayed wire transfer coming from Europe. You know, international banking can be slow, European trusts are complex, so it sounded highly plausible. People were way too embarrassed to press an heiress for details, and she totally played on their vanity and greed. They gave her money because they desperately wanted a piece of her visionary pie.
All right, Section 3, Anatomy of a Con.
Now, Anna's fraud wasn't just a series of lucky breaks. This was a highly sophisticated long con relying on 3 main tactics. First up, the accountant myth. When banks pressed her for financial proof, she just invented a fake business manager named Peter Henneke. She literally used voice-changing apps and virtual SIM cards to verify her own fake assets over the phone. Crazy, right? Second, the overdraft shuffle. She manipulated banks into allowing massive overdrafts, claiming her funds were temporarily tied up, and used that float to sustain her lifestyle. Finally, the social proof loop. She systematically used her vetted status at one hotel to gain trust at the next. Like if the prestigious 11 Howard Hotel trusted her, other high-end spots just assumed she was already vetted. She used the bureaucracy of the system completely against itself. Which leads us to Section 4, the House of Cards. $62,000. Just let that massive number sink in for a second. That represents the total bill from an all-expenses-paid trip to Morocco that Anna invited her friends on. But when it came time to pay, and her cards were inevitably declined, She guilt-tripped her former friend, Rachel Deloche-Williams, into putting the entire bill on a personal credit card. Anna promised to wire the money back immediately, but as you can probably guess, that wire transfer never came. And to really emphasize the sheer audacity of this grift, $7,000 wasn't the total bill. No, that was just the per-night cost of that Moroccan villa. By leaving her friend holding the bag for such an astronomical expense, Anna proved her con wasn't just a financial crime. For her victims, it was a profound, lingering violation of trust that left them questioning their own judgment for years to come.
Section 5. The downfall. So the house of cards finally began to wobble in 2017. The unpaid bills had mounted, luxury hotels caught on, and the victims went to the Manhattan DA. It wasn't flashy spy stuff that brought her down. It was just diligent police work, tracing fake emails and exposing a non-existent family trust. This culminated in October 2017 when she was arrested in a sting operation involving her former friends. By 2019, she faced a jury and got convicted. She was released on parole in 2021, but got arrested almost immediately by ICE for overstaying her visa. Yet through all of this, she refused to drop the persona. During her trial, she famously hired a professional stylist to curate her court outfits. She literally turned her criminal proceedings into a bizarre fashion show. But, the justice system doesn't really care who your stylist is. She was convicted of grand larceny and theft of services, getting a sentence of 4 to 12 years in prison. On top of that, she was ordered to pay a whopping $199,000 in restitution, plus $24,000 in fines. Her whole case exploded into a cultural flashpoint, sparking some massive debates about wealth, privilege, and the media sensationalism surrounding her crimes. Finally, let's look at Section 6, the price of perception. So what do we actually take away from all this? Well, there are a few chilling lessons here. First off, exclusivity is a weapon. We're often so terrified of seeming out of the loop that we just willfully ignore glaring red flags. Second, proximity is not proof. Just because someone happens to be in the same room as powerful people, it definitely doesn't mean they actually possess that power themselves. And third, we see exactly what we want to see. Anna succeeded because she expertly mirrored the fantasies of the people she scammed. She was essentially a reflection of their own desires for wealth and status. In a world that is so entirely driven by images and social media, the appearance of wealth is often just as powerful as the wealth itself. Well, at least until the bill finally comes due. So the next time you're tempted to take someone at face value just because they look like they belong, remember this: the most convincing lies are the ones we tell ourselves. Make sure to subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into explainers just like this one.